Hello and welcome back to the When You're podcast, the podcast for when you're doing anything. Today we're talking about when you're not in control. So what does it mean? We feel like we have so much control in our lives. We feel like sometimes we need to have control in our lives. It makes us feel safe. It protects us. But what do we do when we're not in control? What do you do when you're not in control? And I was kind of just, sometimes I get a little bit frustrated when things don't go my way, when something happens outside of me, right? I can't control what other people do, and I can only do the best that I can, you know what I mean? But sometimes we need to rely on others, and sometimes that's not enough. Sometimes they fail, they make mistakes, and sometimes circumstances happen outside of what I can do. And it might be frustrating from time to time, but it got me thinking of and these are small, tiny little things. Like I'm talking about like being stuck in traffic and playing games and stuff. But I was just kind of like, what do I do? Where do I go? What happens when I can't be there? What happens when so many other people are in harder, more difficult situations? And I was thinking about it and I was trying to figure out, all right, what's the right way to do it? What matters the most? And I thought and I thought and I thought, and I came down to, all right, whatever it is that I'm doing or whatever it is that I'm like trying to control or focusing really, really hard on, but I have no reason to do, right? No reason to be focusing so much energy on something that in the end is not even going to be within my control. I'm not going to be able to hold on to it and mend it and bend it and make it into what I want it to be, right? So in times like that, I just think, okay, what should I do? What can I do? And I just go to the most basic thing is just take a break. Take a break, and that break can be as long as 5 minutes to 5 months. Whatever you have to do to kind of relieve yourself of any kind of pressure, relieve yourself of any kind of, to distract yourself from things like that, you know what I mean? And sometimes we don't have the luxury of waiting so long, but taking a break really helps a lot. And it helps because it gets our mind off of things. It helps us to, kind of recharge our batteries. And sometimes taking a break is as simple as taking a nice nap. You deserve that sleep. You deserve some rest. There's nothing that you can do, You definitely deserve to get some shut-eye. You don't have to be a zombie. You don't have to stay awake all night. Worrying or contemplating or overthinking and calculating every little thing that could possibly happen. You don't have to do that. Take a break. Do something that you like, something that you enjoy, something that you don't necessarily have to think about, something that clears your mind and it doesn't affect your well-being anymore. It doesn't hold you down and weigh on your heart as much. So whatever it is that you want to do, right? I find that a nice little snack break works for me. Or maybe a good drink of water of some kind, right? Something like that. I like good apples and peanut butter. You know what I mean? Just some apple slices and peanut butter. Save the day. Or maybe a nice banana. Or Ritz crackers. I do like some Ritz crackers. But you see what I'm saying? Sometimes you just gotta find something to do. Something to kind of just take it easy. Don't be so tough. You have to, anything you can do to really relax, anything that calms your mind or gets you to focus on anything else, one thing in particular that's not whatever you're trying to control, And that's why our mind, we have to have some things that we enjoy just to enjoy it, not for work, not for anything else, but for our enjoyment and because we like it. And some people, that's, maybe writing, maybe reading, maybe playing video games, maybe doing your makeup, maybe doing all kinds of things, maybe going out for a drive. Well, taking that break will unlock something, and it'll take away something away from the control that we have no power, that we can't make everything that we want it to be. So just take it easy, take a break, and then we'll get back to it. We'll eventually get back to it. And I also find that you have to have a little bit of confidence in yourself, that you can handle these problems, that you can handle not being in control, that you can handle whatever comes your way. You know what I'm saying? Confident in what you decide and what you choose to do. Like I was thinking in terms of maybe going to the doctor or whatnot, right? And you have to think to yourself, well, the doctor just laid out all the risks, right? Maybe it's you need heart surgery. Well, they've laid out all the risks. These are the factors. This is what could happen, and this is what can happen. The likelihood of it, working, stuff like that. Like, the likelihood of it working out is 50-50, so it could go either way, right? Which I'm no expert. I'm just throwing out a percentage out there. And you decide, you know what? Let's go for it. Let's go for it. And you have to be, and whichever way you decide, you can't beat yourself up. You can't be like, did I make the right choice? Should I, I'm not in control. I can't do this. I'm not the doctor. I'm not in the surgery with him. I can't do anything. I can't really help. All I can do is sit back and wait and make a decision. And then if it fails, it fails. But if it's right, you hope for the best, but plan for the worst. But what I'm trying to say is that whatever you decide, whatever you choose, whatever going forward happens, you have to be confident in it. And you have to know that there is no going back from that. You made the choice. You have to stand there. And if the worst happens, you have to prepare for it. You have to be ready, But you can also hope, right? That's a big thing. And in your confidence and in putting out good energy and positive, positivity out in the world, it'll come back to you. I promise. I have a strong belief in that. I have a strong feeling that when you put that kind of mentality in front of you, you can take on anything. You really can. So you have to be confident in what you decide and what you choose for yourself and for others. Sometimes, maybe you're a parent, right? And you're like, should I take them to this school, or should I take them to that school, or should I go to school? Or, maybe if you're going to college and you're like, well, this college is really good and they have this, this, and this, and this, but this other college has this, 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 and this. So where should I really go? And your mind's all over the place, right? And then you finally come up with a decision. You're like, okay, I want to go here. And then you go there, and maybe it's not exactly what you wanted it to be. Sometimes the people there, you can't control what they do or how they treat you. Or maybe you feel lonely and isolated, and you can't, and you try reaching out, but it's not enough, and it doesn't feel like you're connecting with others. And you can't control that, right? You find people that you like and find people that you connect with, but it's very far and few between, right? But you still have to be confident in the college that you chose and the school that you choose for your kids and for whatever you do, And I'm just using that as an example. It doesn't have to be school or whatever. It could be a job. It can be, ice cream, an ice cream flavor that you choose. It can be a movie that you choose to watch. It can be shoes that you decide to buy, right? It can be any number of those things. But you have to be confident, and being confident in what you decide, it takes away some of the overthinking or overanalyzing or the stress or an anxiety you might put on yourself, right? Because if you constantly keep on going like, man, maybe I should have done this instead, that doesn't help, right? What's done is done. You've already decided, Unless it is like shoes, then you can return them and obviously get a new pair, right? But I'm talking more more broad, a lot bigger choices, I guess. Some stuff that you can't necessarily back away from and that you have no control of, like, okay, what happens next, you know? And going, going back to taking a break, taking a moment for yourself, right? I find that a good way to calm yourself down and especially to clear your mind really quickly and effectively is through deep breaths, right? You can't, sometimes we're all really fast paced and we're just kind of like, okay, you got a million things going through your mind, or you have a ton of emotions that you can't fully express in the moment, but you need to make a decision, or you need to come up with a plan, or you have to think of something really quickly, and it becomes difficult to kind of, hold on, let me clear my mind, let me really think about this and take a deep breath, compose myself, and then figure out what I want to do, right? And deep breaths definitely help with that. Taking a deep breath every now and then gives you just a little moment to think, to bring some clarity to mind. Because that's also how we get into a lot of trouble, when we don't when we don't think before we speak. Sometimes we just say things and maybe it hurts another person. And we're like, I didn't mean to say that, or I shouldn't have said that, and why'd I even say that? And maybe that wasn't the way I meant to say it and stuff, you know what I mean? Just take a deep breath. And, I'm speaking more of like maybe I'm thinking more of like in relationships and whatnot, take a deep breath, learn to, listen a lot more, be quiet, be still, focus on you and just breathing. And when you do that, you immediately take away some of the, I'm trying, it's like you're going down the street super quickly, right? But then the light decides to turn red, or you reach a stop sign eventually, right? And you reach the stop sign and you have to like make a full stop or whatever, or maybe there's another car going by and you have to stop for them or whatnot. If they weren't there, or if that particular obstacle wasn't in the way, you would just keep going, and if you did keep going, the likelihood of you crashing is very high. So when you take that stop and you look at the full surroundings, is there another car on the way? Is there somebody else I have to wait for? Is there a pedestrian walking? That's the deep breath. That's being quiet. That's being still. You're taking it all in and at a glance and for a moment. And then once you know things are safe, once you know you're ready to go and you put your foot on the gas pedal, then you keep moving. But you're never going to figure that out until you make that full stop, until you reach that stop sign. And that stop sign is not always going to be there. Sometimes you have to make the decision of, should I keep going or do I stop? Especially when you don't necessarily have to stop. Deep breaths. Breathing in and then letting it all out, right? I tried to do it just then, but my nose is a little congested, so sorry. Ugh. But you get what I'm trying to say, right? Hopefully. It's just a matter of taking it all in, all of your surroundings, all of your thoughts, all of the ideas, and making sure that they line up with with your values and with your feelings and what you want and what matters to you. Because if you don't want to be that person who's like constantly screaming or yelling or saying mean things, right? And then you come back and you're like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. And then like the people who you just said that to are like, you can't take that back. That really hurt my feelings. And like, just an apology isn't enough. It causes damage. And an apology sometimes just isn't enough. So if that's not who you want to be, you got to find way to take those stops. You got to stop, deep breath, think, be quiet, still check your full surroundings of yourself and of what matters to you, and then you can keep going. Does that make sense? I feel like I was kind of all over the place with that one, but and that one's I'm speaking more of like in a verbal context, you know, when maybe we're not in control of maybe we were ill prepared for a certain argument or for a certain conversation that we wanted to have with somebody else. And I guess somewhere it doesn't really account for internal conflict. I'm thinking of like before I was kind of with deep breaths, I feel like that helps you internally as well, but it's more so I was kind of directing it towards confrontation with somebody else. But if you're confronting yourself when you're in conflict with who you are on the inside, it becomes a lot more difficult, you know? Because you could just keep going on and on and on, right? There's no end. There's nobody to rival against you, you know? It's just you versus you. And when you're constantly in that place, you can kind of obsess over stuff. You can kind of feel emotions because only you know you. You're the best person to understand you. And so maybe in those moments like that where you feel like you're in this constant merry-go-round of like never ending back and forth with yourself of fears and emotions and stress, anxiety, you know, depression even, all, you know, anger, rage, stuff like that. And it all goes into a big circle and it never ends. You know, that's the point where you have to kind of think for a moment. And, you know, I don't really do this, but for some people, I think writing it out helps. When you write out maybe some things that you're afraid of or the things that the things that could go wrong in any decision that you make or the things that you want to do or the things that happen to you or whatever, you know what I mean? The worst case scenario, you write it all out. And then you're like, okay, I know this could happen. I know this, and this. And you just let it all out. And once you let it all out, you kind of just like, that feels good. It feels good to let out all of my fears and stress onto pen and paper. So that way I got it all out. It's all on the page. And then it's over and done with. Although I should provide caution, I've never really done this. And for me, I just never, I don't think that it really works for me. But, you know, you can do that. That is an option for when you're not in control. When you're not in control, you can write out all of the things that could go wrong. You could write out, this is what I'm afraid of, and these are my fears, and this is causing me stress, and this thing is happening to me, and I don't like that. And sometimes that really helps. So that way you have a definitive look, words on paper that you can look at and see like that's true. That is the reason for everything, you know. And then you can kind of just let it go. You know, it's solidified. It's on paper. You can throw it away, whatever. And you can kind of just like physically let go of those fears. You can let go of that stress for a time, maybe. And sometimes writing it out just makes you feel like you have a little bit of like a control over your emotions and how you feel, right? Control over what it is that we all want, which is to be in control of our lives, to be in control of the things that surround us. We want an environment that's safe and protective and can't be destroyed and is loving and uplifting and cares for you, right? And that anything that tries to come in to that safe space, into your control, and messes with it and shifts it and makes it into something completely different and crazy, you can just point to that and say, this is the cause of all of it, you know? And you can write that all out. You could literally write a whole timeline of your whole life. You could write an autobiography and you could just get it all out on paper. And that could be really cathartic. that could really just let it all out right then and there, and you can make adjustments and notes and whatnot, right? But all I'm trying to say is that writing it out is a good option, and it definitely helps to focus on something, to let out your stress and your fears of not being in control of whatever is going on in your life. Now, we're going to have to talk about a difficult one, a difficult thing to do when you're not in control, and that's just you got to let it go. You got to surrender to things happening. You got to kind of just accept that things are going to happen that are not in your control. You're going to have to, we have this need to always be in control, to always figure it out for ourselves, right? To do it on our own, and that we're always going to be in control, right? Like if you go to the zoo and there's an earthquake, well, there's nothing you can do, right? You're at the zoo, you're in the middle of an earthquake. You can't automatically be like, no, this wasn't, sometimes we just get so frustrated and we get like, that sucks that happened, or I wish I could have done something more in that moment, you know what I mean? And I'm only using the natural disaster to kind of point at something that's specifically like, I can't control tornadoes or hurricanes or tsunamis and earthquakes and fires and stuff like that. I can't do anything for that, And a lot of people can't, but I'm just trying to say, like, for me, you have to let that go. If those things happen, I can't be like, oh snap, I should, the earthquake wasn't supposed to happen today, or I wish we were at home and I could have protected us a lot more, stuff like that, right? But it's not always a natural disaster. Sometimes it's people. Sometimes it's certain situations we get put in. Sometimes it's family, friends, whoever, you know what I mean? That mess with our control, with the things that we want to do with ourselves, and for certain people around us. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm saying you gotta let all of that go. All of the need to control. You have to surrender yourself to being out of control. If that makes sense. You gotta that want, that certain level of desire that we have to be in control. You gotta let it go. You gotta just free yourself. And in doing that, you'll definitely have a lot of, like, a less of a burden on your shoulders, right? So sometimes when you manage and you try to, like, get everything perfect down to the minute, down to the second, really, right? But then things happen that you had no control over. You had no power to stop, right? Like, let's say you go on vacation, right? And you decide, you know what? If I want to get started on the day, I got to wake up early. Okay, so you wake up early and you're like, all right, we're going to wake up early. We're going to go get coffee. Then we're going to go somewhere. Then we're going to have breakfast afterward, right? You time it all out, right? You got it perfectly in your head what it's going to take. You take into consideration the traffic or driving and getting from place to place, doing this after that, right? But then something happens along the way, something messes with the whole time of it. And you're like, oh, you get so frustrated and you get upset at other people and about the world around you that it's just like, you're on vacation. Take it easy. Something didn't go your way. That's fine. That happens from time to time. But you got to just take a break. Don't be so harsh. You have to let go that there are things that you're not going to be able to do. And when you do that, you're going to enjoy a lot more moments. You're not going to be so concerned about, oh, we have to be there at this time, or this is going to happen and we're going to be late and blah, 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 right? And sometimes I'm not gonna lie, that does get annoying. It does get frustrating. I understand that feeling. But it doesn't do anybody any good, you know? I like to focus on a yes and mentality. Okay, you're gonna be late? Yes. And then what? You know, what are you gonna do instead? What can you do instead? You know? And then 9 times out of 10, it's gonna be something super easy to fix, right? We showed up a little bit late to the movies, you know, so we missed like 2 seconds at the beginning. But that's no problem, you know, or maybe you missed the trailer at the beginning, whatever, right? It's no big deal. It's nothing to beat yourself up about, you know, things like that. And I also think that you could just, you know, obviously you can change your mentality, but you can also focus on other things, right? You can't control, you can't necessarily control, like, if you're stuck in traffic, you can't control it, but maybe you can control the type of music you listen to in the car, right? You're in the car already. Might as well listen to some tunes, something a little bit fun, something that fits your mood for the day, right? That's something you control. And if you're stuck in traffic, you might as well listen to some good music. So, you know, you can shift your focus. It's not so much about being stuck in traffic anymore. It's about, oh, I get to sing along to my favorite songs now. I have more time to have fun and do the things that I want to do. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Or like you just you were just on vacation, right? Or doing whatever, and you set up the whole day, right? But now things didn't go your way and you got stuck somewhere else a little bit longer, or you're doing something else a little bit different, right? Now, instead of being like, no, you're ruining the whole schedule, you're messing it up, you could just change the schedule a little bit. You know, let's say, well, I wanted us to go to this ice cream place, but they actually want to stay here and eat, let's say, shaved ice, right? Then you're just kind of like, you know what? I'm not going to go over there to the ice cream place. We're just going to stay here. And then afterwards, we're going to go back home and do whatever. You know what I mean? Like all of the things that you were thinking about, you could just shift it right down. You know, you can direct your focus onto something else or something that you can do. You can't control other people, but you can kind of control the rest of the day, the rest of the schedule. You can't control that certain time frame that you're missing out on or that didn't fit exactly to what you wanted, but you can reschedule and refocus on the rest of the day. You know what I mean? And doing that, you utilize your time to benefit you the best way possible for the rest of the time. That way it doesn't feel like you're missing out on anything, or your energy is directed toward things that you have no control over, things that are outside of your reach, things that you can't physically touch or change or mold into how you want it to be. You just gotta look at something else that you can reach, that you can touch, that you can grab, that you can make it to what you want, you know? And it kind of gives you a little bit more it gives you a little bit more purpose in your day. It gives you a little bit more to think about, right? It gives you something more to do. You don't want to just be at the whim of whatever's happening around you, right? Things are affecting you. Things are not going the way you wanted. Well, you can obviously change things. You can focus on something else that can put your energy into something more useful, into something a lot more important, you know? So that way, if you miss something or something doesn't go your way, you can kind of just think, okay, let me shift. Let me just go somewhere else and think about, okay, if at 9 o'clock we were supposed to be at breakfast, but now it's 11 o'clock and we haven't gotten breakfast still, then you kind of have to shift the rest of your day. All right, so we still got to go get breakfast, and then we got to do this, and then we got to do that, and then we're going to miss this, but because of that, we can also do this and whatever, you know what I'm saying? And that way, it feels like you get a lot more done. It feels like you get a lot more, you get to still follow a path. You know, you get to make a path for yourself. Now, another big one is being able, sometimes when we're not in control, we're not happy. We're not the happiest we could ever be. Sometimes we get in a bad place when we don't get everything that we wanted, or we don't let things happen the way that they should have happened, right? We always kind of want that perfect thing to happen. You know, everything could go our way, everything perfect. And sometimes it does, and it's a really good feeling. But when it doesn't, we become the worst parts of ourselves. And in times like those, we were like, I don't want to feel like this. I don't want to feel the guilt of having hurt your feelings. I don't want to feel the anger that I directed towards you. I don't want to have to deal with the repercussions of being that kind of person, right? Which is why when we feel like things are not in our control, we have to be grateful of everything that has happened to lead up to that point. So I kind of think of it like billionaires. You know, billionaires have a lot of problems on their shoulder. They have money problems, right? But they're a lot different from maybe a working family, right? Like a working family making, you know, an average salary, as opposed to a billionaire making millions of dollars every single day, right? They both deal with money problems, but he's not appreciating or being grateful for where he is. He's not super happy with everything that he's achieved. And yes, he might lose a lot of money, but there's a complete difference, right? There's a huge comparison between the two. So in those moments, you got to kind of be a little bit grateful of everything that you've done for yourself. You have so much to be happy about. You have so much to really enjoy in your daily life. And this goes back to, you know, enjoying the little things. By focusing on those moments, you can really you can have a moment of peace, of joy, of excitement in your life that if you don't do from time to time, it'll bug you out. It'll really take a toll on you. So practicing gratitude is very important, especially when you're not in control, because it's the little joy that sparks inside of you that kind of makes you happy. It kind of like, you know, I'm going to a business meeting and it might not go well, but it's a nice day and I got a cup of coffee from my favorite coffee shop and it tastes delicious and I'm listening to my favorite song on the way there and I'm driving in my nice car that I was able to afford because of the job that I have, and I have a wonderful family and friends and coworkers that support me and that are also going to meet me at the meeting and who are feeling the same way that I'm feeling, you know? Why would I want to bring them down? Why can't I go into this meeting with a positive attitude? If I already feel that it's going to go wrong, then I'm already ahead of the game. I already know what the outcome is going to be. I might as well have fun going there. I might as well have fun or a moment to be myself. You know what I mean? And that happens when we are grateful for everything that has led up to that point. When we appreciate ourselves and the things that we've done to be where we are, it feels a lot better, and control doesn't really matter as much. And it's all about changing your mind, your mindset, how you think, controlling your thoughts is something that nobody can take away from you. So when you're not in control, maybe externally, you can control yourself internally. You can control how you think. You can control the things that matter only for you. And that way, you get a little bit of control. You get a little bit of something for yourself. A little moment where you just get to be happy. A little thing for you, just you alone. Not for anybody else. Just you. Because you can't control what they do. You don't have their mind. You don't have their body. You don't know what they've been through or what they're thinking or what they're going through. All you can do is what you want to do. What you decide. You know what? You want to say, you know what? Screw the business meeting. I don't need this job. I don't like this job. I'm only doing this job for something else and blah, 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 right? And you just decide, you know what? I'm going to leave this job and I'm going to go get a sandwich, right? Like, you can control what you do. You can control your thoughts. You can control your mind and your feelings and your emotions. And when you do that, you have so many more options, so many more possibilities, you know? And that feels infinitely better than the negative emotions that pile on your shoulders, that keep you from being your best self and realizing your full potential, or exercising that your mind and that your muscle, that little push it gives you every single day to wake up in the morning and to do something great, to be the best version of yourself. So when you're not in control, just try to control you. Just you and just you alone. Because nobody else, I tell you, nobody else is really going to matter. If you're not okay, nobody else is going to feel okay. You're not going to be of help to anybody else in the world. You're not going to be able to contribute as much as you could if you were in control. You know what I mean? So being in control of yourself is something that nobody can take away from you. Nobody can take away the control that you feel for you and just you, okay? And that matters so much. And and sometimes I forget that. Sometimes I feel like I have no other option. I have no other choice, you know? I just have to stick to my regular routine. I don't have to, why would I do this certain thing, you know? I'm out of control in this situation. Whatever somebody else decides for me, or whatever this person does is like, so what? Who cares what they decide? Who cares what they think? They're not me, and they have no control over me. I get to decide. I get to make the decision. And again, I like to focus on the happy little moments in my day-to-day life. I like to think about, I could be eating a bagel with cream cheese right now, but instead, you know, I'm going to, instead I'm going to another business meeting or whatnot. You know what I mean? I don't think that made sense. What I was trying to say is that, like, when you control yourself and the things that you do, then it becomes a whole different ball game, right? Instead of going to a business meeting, you eat a bagel with cream cheese and you enjoy the morning. And they're like waiting for you, and they're like, what's taking him so long? He's not fitting within my control. And you're just like, you know what? You're going to wait a second, because I'm going to eat my bagel with cream cheese for breakfast, and you're just going to have to wait. Which they could totally be like, you know what? I don't care about that. I want to go get a big, it becomes this whole cycle of you're in control, they're not in control, you're not in control, they're not in control, but you're in control and they're in control. You know what I mean? Everybody's doing it for themselves and nobody can really look at anybody else. But I'm talking to you and you alone. Whatever you feel, you go for it. You know what I mean? And the rest of them are going to have to suck it up or accept and let it go, you know? And that's kind of what I was feeling. And it was really over nothing, but it became so much more when I thought about it. And I hope that any of these tips help you. So when you're not in control, take a break. Take it easy. Find something to calm your mind, to find something that will help you focus on one thing, right? You have to be confident in your choices and your decisions. You got to take a deep breath, Be quiet, listen, take in your surroundings, stillness. You can write out all of your feelings and emotions and the things that you can't control and all of the negativity that you might have. You can write all that out and then you can put it all to paper and then burn it, throw it away, do whatever. You have to let go of your desire to control. You have to surrender to being out of control. You gotta just let it go. You gotta learn how to focus on other things, and especially the things that you can control, the things that you can hold, the things that you can bend and mend and turn into it's like clay. You can make a big, pretty vase out of it, but you can also make a pot and pan and whatever, You can be grateful for everything that has led you up into this point. And you can finally control your emotions. You can control your thoughts and your mindset. You can change it and you can be something great. I know you can. So those are the things to do when you're not in control. And I want to say thank you guys so much for listening. And thank you guys so much for subscribing to the YouTube channel. It means a lot to me. And I'll talk to you guys all next time. Thank you.